Hey, welcome to the show. This is Mike on Mike Unfiltered, and I got a special guest for you today. I've been sitting around thinking, I've got some special people that I wanted to have on, and the one I didn't have on my list is my old radio co-host, Spike. Welcome to the show, Spike.
Howdy, Mike. How you doing?
Doing good. Hey, why don't you take just a quick moment and tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Uh, my name is Dan Harville. I did a radio show with Mike here, the Mike and Spike show, for a couple of years. Covered Louisiana, parts of Louisiana, Oklahoma, Texas, and Arkansas,
Yeah.
and yeah, in that region. And we did political talk, and it was the end of my radio career, which is fine. I've done radio since I was early 20s, and I got into that just because I needed a job, and I found myself here in East Texas, and the radio station owner had a job posted for months, and I went in and he said, "Have you ever done radio?" I said, "No, but I've done motion pictures. I've done TV production and motion picture production by the time I was in my early 20s." And I figured that radio was just the same thing but without picture. And he said, "Okay, can you read?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Prove it." And he handed me a newspaper, and I started reading. Went, "Okay, you're hired." He had had a string of people who had come in for that job, none of which could read. So,
Now
uh,
there's an interesting fact about that radio station, and that would be the people who had previously owned it. Do you remember?
no,
The
I don't even
Womack
know.
family, Womack. So Leanne Womack, the
Oh,
country
that's right.
singer,
Oh, that's right. You're right. You're right. That's
her
I do know
family,
that.
yeah, her family had had that station. I know the father, I think, was a disc jockey there or something. Uh,
David Womack owned. David was his name. David Womack. He's gone
yeah,
now.
and
Yeah.
so they had. I remember well, it wasn't the last; it was way back now. But she had a CD that came out, and the front cover of the CD inside was a picture of her standing
Right.
in a little pink dress in front of the radio station sign, and I think that they used to tell stories about her going in and sleeping on the couch in Miss Ruby's office, which Ruby was the radio station owner. So,
Well, yeah, I'm talking two different stations here. Actually, four different stations because different owners own multiple stations, but that's the same thing in the same area. And now they're all owned by the same guy. So
yeah,
anyway,
I don't know if he's still doing that. So, you did radio, and we had some fun. We're going to get to you mentioned movies, and thanks for bringing that up because
yeah, yeah,
first thing I want to talk about though was radio. So you did radio for years. You did radio out in California
yeah,
and other various places, and then you ended up here, and then you and I ended up with this little radio station that really had not much listenership. I mean, people just weren't. It's a small area, and you and I got involved with that,
yeah.
and we came up with something called the Mike and Spike Show.
Right, right.
Tell us a little bit about that.
I really enjoyed doing Mike and Spike. If I remember correctly, I was hired for the. You were hired for the FM stations.
Yes.
I was hired for the AM. Is that how that worked?
Yes.
And then, but you can only do so much radio by yourself, and it's boring. And it's, hey, one more hit, and let's look at the weather. You know, and, and so during my shift on the radio, I just pick up the phone and I'd call Mike.
Yes.
Hey, Mike, and then I'd have Mike on my show with me on the radio,
I
and then
remember that. I'd say, "Oh, we
and
got to
when
call her."
and then Mike would be on the radio, and I'd call him. And I'd be
Yep.
driving down the road or whatever, because cell phones, and so we'd do Mike and Spike unofficially on his radio show. And finally, the owner called us in and said, "You guys got to stop jacking around. We're just gonna make it one show. You can do your talk show, you can do your politics, and yada yada." And we did, and it was just, I really enjoyed that more than anything else really I've done in radio was doing that. I did the back when I was in San Diego doing radio. You remember this because you were in the Navy in San Diego at the same time. I worked for the biggest country station in the nation, KCBQ
Right.
FM at the time, and I met all the stars, Merle Haggard and Janie Fricke and Johnny Cash and all these people, and it was a lot of fun. The Bellamy Brothers, the two nicest guys you've ever met. Um, Met all those people, and it was a little bit of a rush for a while, but I really feel like what you and I did really helped people. Whereas before I'm
Yeah.
just playing the hits, you know. But then when you and I were doing it, I think that we really made a difference in our community because we were just a couple of guys uh, who didn't need the money
And we're opinionated. So
and didn't need the fame, and we were opinionated, and we just wanted to make a change in our nation and in our
yeah.
community. And we were on the radio, and we just did it. How cool was that? And so it was really satisfying for me to be doing that with you.
I think that what was interesting is, like you said, you'd call me during your breaks and stuff, and I'd answer the phone and go, "Oh, okay," and then we'd talk and we'd do a whole little thing there.
Whatever shit we could come up with on the phone and just put it out over the air.
And I guess the next thing we knew is people were like, "Oh, we like that," they liked it, and so we ended up in the same studio together, and I think. One of the funniest things is, in full disclosure, Spike is my brother-in-law. Okay.
Yeah.
So we had the Mike and Spike show. We've been great friends for years. We not only share a love for his sister, we share a love for music. We're both musicians. We share a love for aviation. We're both pilots. And so we had a lot of stuff in common. So for years and years and years, we've been good friends. Yep. But the thing I think people liked the most was it wasn't uncommon for us to have a disagreement on the radio.
Well, you spent many years in the Navy perfecting the art of the insult.
Yeah.
And you're great at it. And I can't help but laugh at them, even though I'm usually the brunt of the joke. I mean, some of them are so brilliant. That's a brilliant insult, Mike.
Laugh at them. All that time at sea, you got to perfect something, okay? And so that's what we did. So people really like that. We ended up doing this show, and it just seemed to kind of grow and grow and grow and grow. We ended up doing a bunch of stuff with an organization called Music City, Texas.
Yep.
Don Henley and some guys like that from the Eagles involved with that. And so we did a bunch of stuff with them. And then we got involved with the Tea Party.
Yeah.
I think the first Tea Party we did was Bossier.
Bossier City.
Right? Yeah. Bossier City. And correct me if I'm wrong, but
I always do.
Thank you for that. I'll get you later on. But I think we had, if I recall right, we had 6,000 cards showed up.
Yeah.
And we had 6,000 cars we had to turn away.
Yeah. They had, yes, 6,000 cars they could put in the parking area. And then they estimated 6,000 or more cars got turned away.
Yeah.
And that's how that was our first event, which was one of many, actually.
And so then I remembered the second Bossier Tea Party. I don't know if you recall this. And we had our friend C.L. Bryant there, who did the movie Runaway Slave, if our audience remembers that. Very good. C.L. was there. And this time, instead of us speaking, they put up a tent for us, and they did the Mike and Spike Be Heard booth.
That's right. I totally forgot about that booth. That was awesome. Why don't you recap that for us?
It was, I think it was close to the holidays. I think around Thanksgiving. Mm-hmm. But with things in the country.
Remember the one grandmother?
Yes.
Daughter? Tell that.
The lady brought, it was either her daughter or granddaughter, but we had a line of people all the way around the Be Heard booth, lined up forever. People waited forever because for weeks we had teased on the radio that what we were going to do, we were going to record and give everybody an opportunity to record a message to Barack Obama. What would you say to Barack Obama if you could speak to him right now? Oh, yeah. And so people came in. We had no idea what that was going to turn into. People gathered around there. They waited forever. This lady came in, and I'll never forget, she was very tearful. And she said, I appreciate you guys so much, because we felt for a long time that we don't have a voice, and you've given us a voice. I have a whole house full of house guests for the holidays, but I could not miss this. So I brought my daughter or granddaughter, I can't remember, a lovely young woman.
She left pies in the oven with instructions on how to and when to take them out. And she grabbed her granddaughter, saying, "This is an important part of the American experience. Our
Yes.
voices can be heard. Let's go be heard."
So they came out and we recorded this and we sent a CD. Of course, we played it. We on the radio. We sent a CD to Barack Obama. We sent all this stuff to Washington, to the White House. Don't know if he ever got it, but I like to
send a copy to Congress.
Yes, we did.
Yep.
So we don't know where it turned up, but it was very good. Now, after that, we had several more things, events that we've done, but then we ended up in St. Louis. Walk us through that.
Well, there's a spiritual side to the. Do you mind if I turn spiritual?
No, please do. Please do.
My wife at the time had, at the time, because she's passed away now, ended up being asked to take over the Tea Party, one of the Tea Party segments or groups or whatever they were down in Shreveport, Louisiana. And so she was on the board or whatever it was she was doing there. And word came down there's going to be this huge gathering in St. Louis. They were expecting 25 to 50,000 people, which is, I think, what we actually ended up getting.
It was a large amount of people.
Yeah. So they were looking around for people to come and speak. Well, I immediately thought of, I'm going to blow your horn here for a second. Michael is a phenomenal orator and speaks about patriotic subjects and stuff. And he's great and one of my favorite speakers. Well, as soon as I heard that they were looking for people to come up there and speak, I was going to throw your name in the hat. And as soon as I wrote your name down, I was going to just write Mike Lee and submit it. I wrote Mike and Spike. And I just had an instant feeling in my heart that we were going to do it. And this is 3 or 4 months before it happened. I knew without a shadow of a doubt they were going to call us and ask us up there. And so I sent that in. And I'm going to take a little bit of a tangent here, and then you can have it back and go.
Go ahead.
So I, being a religious man, I prayed and I said, "Dear God, what would you have me talk to these people about?" Because they told me when I got the word that they were going to give me 6 minutes and give you 6 minutes.
Right.
And I said, "Dear God, what would you have me talk about?" And one word came into my mind: tithing. Tithing. I could have talked about anything, because everybody was talking, of course, politics and taxes and oppression and all those kinds of things. But excuse me, that word tithing came into my mind, and as soon as I thought about, well, what am I going to do? I had another whole talk just boom pop into my head about if people would just pay their tithing. There's only one scripture that said where God says, "I double dog dare you." And he says, if you'll pay your tithing, you'll have the windows of heaven opened up, and the blessings of heaven poured upon your head, too numerous to count. And so I took my few minutes and talked about tithing. And today, still, from that talk, I will have people send me emails telling me how it changed their lives.
I remember it.
Yeah. And I felt kind of, I just knew I had to do it because I'd asked for it in prayer. What do you want me to talk about? And God gave us the opportunity, and he told me what to talk about. And so I did it. But I'm amazed that here it is a decade later or more. I don't even remember however long it's been, that still people will write me and tell me that paying tithing has changed their lives.
It was the right talk at the right moment in the right place. And I can remember still today the faces of the audience when you were up there speaking. And it was a very good talk, very good speech that was very well received. Now, my part of this day, my speech was 2 words. And I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, I do. This is a great story.
Time got short. Things got away from them, and we were emceeing this thing. So when it came time, they walked over, and we had Dick Morris, who was going to be there. So I walked over to Dick, and I said, "Mr. Morris, I'm Mike with Mike and Spike. How would you like to be introduced?" And he leans over, and he goes, 2 words, Dick Morris. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So it's probably 30 minutes later and it comes time. I don't know if you remember. And they said, okay, it's time. Go and introduce him. So you had been out on stage and you introduced me and I was so humbled. I got great applause. People, it was quite the ordeal. I thought these people, they thought they introduced somebody else, not me. So we're on the Jumbotron. We got all these people, thousands of people everywhere underneath the arch. We're going through that, and I'm standing there and finally have to lift up my finger to kind of go, shh. And everyone
25,000 people you shushed.
dead silent. Everyone on edge, just waiting for me to speak. And after it got dead silent, I looked at the camera, big old Jumbotrons, and I looked at this audience and I said, Dick Morris. The crowd went wild.
It was phenomenal.
The crowd went wild.
And Dick was
around.
surprised. Dick was surprised because you did exactly what he asked you to do.
No one was more surprised than Dick Morris. Dick Morris, I looked at him and he's just standing there and I'm like, okay, this will be a good time.
Yeah. He was so. I remember standing next to him off stage, and he was watching you, and you went, Dick Morris, and his mouth just went.
And so I walked back, and he started walking towards me, and he came right up to me, and he stuck his hand out, and I shook his hand, and he goes, I'm sorry, nobody's ever done that before. I said, well, that's what you told me to do. We laughed, and I walked off and he gave a nice speech. So it was a very enjoyable time. I think that the people really enjoyed what we were doing there.
Yeah, Mike and I actually emceed the whole thing, or the first half of it. It was like 3 hours long. We did like the first hour and a half or 2 hours, and then they did more music. The band came on and stuff, and then
which
Dana Lash, was it Dana Lash who came on?
Dana was there with us, and then they had this guy, I can't remember his name, who won American Idol or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was
I don't
there.
remember his name either.
And then we find out Sammy Kershaw was there, the country singer, and Sammy was at the time running for, I think, lieutenant governor in Louisiana.
Lieutenant governor of Louisiana.
So we spent a bunch of time back behind, the scenes, in between everything, shooting a bull with Sammy. What a great guy Sammy Kershaw is. I got to tell you, first of all, I'm a big fan. I love his music. I love his music. And to me, it just gets better and better. And especially today, I don't want to be rude, but, I guess I'm an older guy. I like country music, not pop country. I like country music, and I've got country music people in my background and in my family and stuff, and they're very talented, but I like, the stuff that Sammy did, and Tracy Lawrence, whose mother used to live down the street from me. A lot of these people, I love the old style country, but Sammy is not just a super talented entertainer. He's truly an American. He's a patriot. Sammy is a patriot. He loves his country. He loves people, and he loves to do things right. He wants the country to be successful, and he wants people in the country to be successful. So everything he does, that's the old way. When you didn't look down your nose at people and snarl at them because they had something you didn't have, we looked at people and we were proud for them. And that's how Sammy is. He sees someone that's doing great and is very successful. He's proud of them. So, he's a great guy and he did a great job. And I think we did a great service there. Now, I'm going to say I had an entire list of things I wanted to talk to you about.
Okay.
For people that don't know this, we're not only brother-in-laws and co-hosts and stuff like that, but we get together every Tuesday. He eats at my house every Tuesday night.
I do.
Eats up all my groceries. Then on Wednesday,
brother-in-law should.
On Wednesday,
that service for you.
We meet at Burger King for Whopper Wednesday because they're on sale. Okay.
Yep.
And then we have and then Wednesday nights we do stuff at church together.
Yep.
And then we see each other at church on Sunday. And so we end up spending a lot of time together. So I guess what I'm saying is we're not going to get to all this stuff. So I've made a command decision here that I'm going to try to keep this down to about 30 minutes, and I'm going to do several segments with you.
Okay. Is this like lightning round questions, or what is this?
Well, this is just us talking, because I think there's so many things. You and I talk about so many things. We're going to talk about Hollywood and your time in Hollywood. We're going to talk about AI and our opinions on AI and other things. Not today, but it's something I want to do in the future. So I'm going to do like a part 1, part 2, part 3.
Oh, I see.
Because
Okay,
I think
so we're not doing all this now. You're going to
No.
ask me back. Okay.
No,
Fine,
I'm going to
happy
have
do
you
that.
back, and we're going to do it all then. So, like I said, we had such a good time doing Mike and Spike, and I believe we gave a great service. And then we were actually taken off the air, forcefully taken off the air. Do you remember the details of that? Now, as other people are listening, you're going, radio people get fired all the time. Well, that's not what this is. We were literally the first people in the country canceled.
Right.
And we were canceled by the Obama administration for poking Obama in the eye.
Yeah.
So
I remember. I don't remember the guy's name, and embarrasses me. He had a news channel online, and it was really big at the time. I think it's faded somewhat, but I remember having him on, and it seems to me that shortly, because he was conservative, it seems to me that shortly after having that guy on, we started getting some real heat.
Oh yeah.
Before it was just local people going meh, 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 meh. But after he came on, that's when Miss Ruby, who owned the radio station, started getting calls and pressure applied to her.
Well, everyone who was anyone wanted to be on our show. We had Ann Coulter on. We had Dog the Bounty Hunter on. We had Newt Gingrich's office on. We had, I don't know, Tommy Habe from the show Cheaters on. We had a lot of people. We could sit here all night long and go through all these people that we had on. They were great interviews, and we loved having them on. It was a great service that we provided, and we really enjoy doing it, and we made a difference. We live in an area that's was predominantly Democrat. It never had a Republican elected. And with our show, and my wife started the Federation of Republican Women here, and we helped with the Tea Party. After doing that, we won half the seats in the county. And then the following election, what was left, we won that half that didn't switch. Half of those guys did switch. In the last group, they did what they always do. They switch parties, but they're still not conservative. They're, that's what they do.
That wolves in sheep clothing thing. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. They'll say rhinos, Republican in name only, and that's exactly what they did. But, I was thinking about this the other day, and I was thinking about the Mike and Spike, and I thought, we provided such a service. And when I thought back about the lady in the tent and some of these other places, the Tea Party, the people, we're just a couple of guys just trying to exercise our voice and our First Amendment, have no following, no power, no authority. And as people would line up to talk to us, it was just amazing. So the moral of this story for me was everyone has a voice. Don't diminish, what your voice is and could be. Everybody plays a role in our society. Everybody plays a role in what happens and what the future holds. Now, it may be an uphill battle, but you still have a part. It goes back to that analogy with the guy drowning. You're going to swim, or you're going to just drown. The more you get involved, the more the average day citizen gets involved, the better off this country's going to be. And right now, I'm telling you, we're a runaway locomotive with what Donald Trump has done in his first month in office. I'm a real Ronald Reagan guy, but Ronald Reagan has nothing on what this guy has done. Right. We have for years begged for people like this, and no one has ever done it. And now he's doing it. And I don't care who you are, Republican, Democrat, Independent, white, black, Asian, Hispanic, polka dot, or plaid. Donald Trump is bringing our country back together and building a better nation. And not just a better nation, but a better world. Because now we've got world leaders coming over here getting involved and saying, thank you, Donald Trump. Thank you. And they're doing the same thing in their country. So I'm going to give you the last word before we get off.
I think that you kind of touched on it there. You said, we made a difference here, and we really did in this 4-state area, the Arklatex, including Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Texas, and Oklahoma. We made a difference. But as you said, and I would like to reiterate, you and I are just a couple of guys. You're in the Navy and you flew hovercraft and you're a drill sergeant or whatever you call that, company commander. And I was a guy who fell into the movies and did sound effects and did some acting and then got on the radio and produced some TV. But I'm just a guy. My car breaks down. I turn my thermostat down to 71 to save money, and I eat at Burger King like you said on Wednesdays to save a couple of bucks. But what I do, and I know that you do this too, and I'm not being preachy here. I want to look at every situation and say, what can I do to be a better man? What can I do to make my community a better place? What can I do to help lift the loads and ease the pain and burdens of the people around me? And I'm a little embarrassed talking about it openly like this. But that's just how I feel I want to live my life. And I think that as we all do that, as people as you in your community go out and say, today I'm going to do it, be a good Boy Scout, go out and do a good deed, go out and do something for somebody else who can't do something for you. That's what makes our country great. Absolutely. Loving our neighbor, helping our citizens, the other citizens around you, lifting them up lifts everybody up.
Absolutely. Well, Spike, thank you for being on. And I'll tell everyone who's watching this, tune back in for part 2. We're going to have several of these. And I think we're going to have a very enjoyable time doing it. I appreciate you being on. I'm Mike with Mike Unfiltered. Hey, you have a great day. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Well, that's a wrap for this week's show.